The meaning of life. The meaning of life. Good morning, everybody. It's time for Morning Manna, and I got a word for you on this morning, and I'm sure you're saying, my God, that's a large topic. That's a huge topic to say. The meaning of life. That's right. This morning, I want to deal with the meaning of life. What is the meaning of life? I want to greet a few people and then get into the word because I have a word to share. Good morning, Angela. How are you on this morning? What a wonderful morning it is. Man, I can't wait to get into this morning. Good morning, Carolyn. How are you? Good morning, Betty, on the East Coast. On the East Coast, how are you? Grand rising to you as well. Man, I got a word for you all on this morning, Anitra, and I need to get right into it because it's a little longer than normal. Usually I just say 5 minutes or less. This might be a little longer because whenever you're talking about the meaning of life, that's a mouthful. That's a mouthful. You know, the text to talk, the takeaway, 5 minutes or less. Hey, why don't you share this? Don't keep this to yourself. Let's get into it. The meaning of life. Here is the text. Paul talking to the church at Corinth. He's bringing meaning to life and death. The text is 1 Corinthians 15:54. You know it well. You hear it at funerals all the time. The C portion of the text is this. Death has been swallowed up in victory. Death has been swallowed up in victory. 45 years ago today, 45 years ago today, a plane dropped out of the sky full of basketball players from Evansville University. Everybody on that plane died. Everyone on that plane died. If you are about my age, you may remember that, especially here in the East Coast. Two players on that team I played with in high school, one of which was a distant cousin of mine. We had an excellent basketball team, and we went all over the place playing in universities. I'd graduated from high school in 77, and we were all freshmen at the universities in which we were playing basketball. I will never forget that day. I was struggling in school at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And I saw on the news, and then other teammates began to share about the team that died on this plane in Evansville. It was a cold winter day, not quite winter, I guess yet. And the plane had ice on its wings, and it crashed. Barney Lewis and Warren Austin, two dear friends of mine, close buddies of mine. I was shaken. I was already struggling in school. And I remember that I asked for some time off from practice at UNCG. And the coach came to me and he said, you know what? One of those coaches was my friend too. So, you're going to have to get at it. You're going to have to get over it. He was callous. He was cold. And it really hit me hard that he would be so insensitive. And I was broken. I made a life decision then that I wasn't going to play basketball anymore. That I had to really press in, get to my books, because the meaning of my life was more than dribbling a basketball. In fact, I realized I had been playing for the sake of others and not for myself. I grabbed a hold of what life was meaning for me in that very moment. The death of Barney and Warren brought meaning. There are 5 things I want to share with you with respect to how death brings meaning to life. The first thing is this. The death of a routine can bring meaning to life. The death of a habit Hebrews calls it a weight. He says, lay aside the sin and the weight that so easily beset you. There are things that are sinful to us that are not necessarily biblical sins. Paul said it. He says, if eating meat offends your brother, then don't eat it. It's offensive to them. It's sinful to them, but not to you. The death of a routine can bring meaning to your life. What are the bad habits that you're dealing with? The second thing that I want to share with you is the death of a ritual. The death of a ritual can bring meaning to life. Rituals is, whether it's a good worship or bad worship, it's a ritual that you've clung on to. Where is your worship and what are you worshiping? And should there be a death of that particular worship, of that particular thing, if it doesn't point you to God? The third thing is this, the death of sin. The death of sin. He said, mortify the deeds of the flesh. Mortify the deeds of the flesh. So there are times when the death of sin can bring even more meaning to your life, because that breakthrough will cause you to draw closer to God. The fourth thing is this, the death of selfishness. The death of selfishness. When you come to realize it's not all about you, that we are supposed to love one another, pray for one another, and serve one another. When you get to that place that I'm not here for me, but I'm here for others, the depth of that selfishness will bring even more meaning to your life. The death of routine, the death of ritual, the death of sin, the death of selfishness. Here's the fifth and final thing. The death of worrying about what others think about you. The death of what others think about you, worrying about it. Understand this. Understand this. Christ said you are to die for, and then he did. He said, you know what? You got it going on so much while you were yet sinners. I died for you. That's just how much I feel about you. So why worry about being accepted by others? What's your takeaway this morning? Your takeaway is this. Life has no meaning until you realize what death is. Life has no meaning until you realize that it will end. 45 years ago, today, I realized, young freshman in college, that life can end. So I think I better get about the business of leading and living a meaningful life. The Lord be with you today. His face shine upon you, give you peace. If this bless you, bless somebody else. Share it. Don't keep it to yourself. I'll see you tomorrow morning with more Morning Manna. Don't miss First Lady and I in our midweek morning prayer before Morning Manna. God bless you. Bye now.